Good evening. All right. Hi. Good evening. And welcome to Environmental Coffee House. Good to see all of you. And tonight, we'll see who joins. I have an interesting show. And my mind is always taking me places. And I am not quite old enough to really remember the Firesign Theater like my older brother. And I don't even know if he really is, but I will never forget the we are all bozos on this bus. And so I put that link in the show notes. I don't know who watched it. I don't know who here is remembering the Firesign Theater, but they were really revolutionary, and they treated comedy like, well, not as a sequence of jokes like a lot of comedians, but they were fully immersive. I mean, they were political, they were psychological, they were funny, and it was a time, at that time, back in the 60s and 70s. Now I was just a baby, but yet I know my demographic of all of everybody here. I know the demographic, and we skew older. I'm older. So, and I'm embracing my memories. And I want you to also. And I want to teach you from these memories because it's taken us to where we are now. And it's just incredible. But they were really, mainstream humor back then was like punchlines, and, the personalities were really super important of these comedians. Then you remember the back in those days, they were going up to the people in New York. They were going up to I guess they call it the Borscht Belt, those comedians. And then came uh well, these guys, and Cheech and Chong, who came a little bit later. These guys, the Firesign Theater, their humor was, I thought, from what I've been listening to the last few days and remembering, was like very dense. They used different voices. Now, I thought about being them. I thought about, reading something that I was going to write, or I wrote a few things down that I could be different voices, but I didn't know if I could pull it off, because they deliberately wanted to confuse you, and they really they wanted information overload, which they were really ahead of their time. And they had this double speak, but there was four of them. And I do have a video I made. I can't show any of their clips because Sony owns it now, but I did make a video for you that might help you understand who they were a little bit more. But their work was like a dismantling of authority in a way. And they did a lot of mimicking of it. And with their government announcements, they made fun of aliens. Oh, aliens was a big thing. Patriotic, they would make a patriotic noise, and using corporate jargon. I mean, I saw some clips where they actually were at a Volkswagen dealership selling Volkswagens. And it really does remind me of a story. The graphic I have here, which is the bus. That's Ken Kesey's bus. And you see how I stick him on everything now, Rod Serling, because that's how I feel, But maybe I'll move this over here. I could leave it up. The bus, Ken Kesey's bus, I remember I was young. My brother lived in Eugene, Oregon, like our beautiful friend here, Mark. And my sister-in-law had a 62 Beetle. And my girlfriend, Donna, dearly departed Donna, which really kind of broke me up when it happened. We took the bus. I mean, we took the Volkswagen. I drove my sister-in-law's Beetle. That thing on the highway. I don't think that thing made 45 miles an hour. Everybody's going whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. We went up to the Kesey farm. We went to see the bus, and that was my big year of meeting the Grateful Dead. And Bob Weir just passed, so it's been maybe that's what got me thinking of all this. But we are all Cassandras on this bus. We are now all Cassandras. Bozo is one thing, we can call ourselves Bozos, but we're Cassandras on the bus. All of us here, you follow this channel, we're all Cassandras. And could the Firesign Theater have been seeing the future? Yeah, maybe. Maybe. I mean, really, when you think about it, long before, and you'll see in the video, long before fake news and all this bullshit, the algorithms, the echo chambers, and all this crap, post-truth like Kellyanne Conway, alternative facts. The Firesign Theater, they really did, in their way, they exposed the power, behind language and repetition. They use confusion. And it was like a bureaucratic theater in a way. It was, but they taught their audiences, and this is what I read. They taught their audiences, and they were incredible for the 20th century. They really were. And maybe I will play you this video. I'll play you the video now, and then I think it'll help you learn a little bit about them while people are joining. And I hope more people join. I always work so hard on this stuff, and I love doing these shows, and I'm tired and I had a sore throat, but goddamn, I get these ideas. I get so inspired, and I know that this channel is not your run-of-the-mill channel. So, oh well, tough shit. And before I start that, let me just say hi to everybody. Hello, Looney and Kim. Thank you for moderating. And Obsolete Optics, you are moderating now also. And actually, I am going to give... did I make him a moderator? No, I have to make him a moderator. And I want to make him a moderator for Sundays. So we're giving NBPT Rocks. He's going to be a moderator now, so that on Sundays when Kim can't make it, I know Looney tries, but him and Obsolete Optics, Brett, will be moderators. So there you go. So anyway, hello everybody, and Linda, hi from Canada, Alex, and it's great to see all of you here. Hello, One Living World, my friend. And Mark, Dandelion 62. You do remember them? Yeah, you're a little bit older than I am. And so I didn't have quite the memory, but I'm sure you've probably went and saw the bus like we did, me and Donna did. Definitely, how we did driving up the highway. I mean, I'm telling you, I was always the driver, Even when Donna and I were young in high school, her mother had a spray-painted orange Mustang. Donna was never allowed to drive it, but I could. I had my license. So Donna's mother let us drive her spray-painted orange Mustang around. I have a lot of good memories. And I guess that's what we have. We have to celebrate those memories because we are still here. And a lot of people are not. So let me show you the video. I put it together. Let me set it up. I put it together, and I certainly hope I don't think it's going to have a copyright. I did upload it to my other channel to run it through, but sometimes these things will say they don't have a copyright, and then a week later they'll say, well, you can't be monetized, or whatever shit there is. But okay. Sit back. It's not long, but I think that it'll help. The way I put it together, I kind of pieced it together to give you an idea. And then I'm going to show you. There is a dude that wrote a book about them if you're interested. Pretty cool. Pretty cool history.
A media experience a traveling, juggling troupe of madmen, or perhaps you might term us...
like that makes me cry.
Yeah, or I don't know, we're on TV right now.
Yeah,
we're on TV.
yeah, true.
This is on TV right now, and that's sort of what we are.
But here in the technical vastness of the future, we can guess that surely the past was very different.
That's fire sign, because there are 4 of us, and we're all fire signs. Astrologically speaking, there are 2 Sagittariuses. I'm the right foot, and Peter Bergman here is the left foot.
Hi.
And there's a Leo over there, the heart of our group, Philip Proctor. And Mr. Austin here is the head, or the...
is a study of the Firesign Theater, a 4-person comedy group or theatrical troupe or media collective that made a series of astonishing records for Columbia Records between 1967 and 1975, the beginning of pop music's album era. And they saturated the culture so thoroughly that in 1971 you could have spent a monthly 4 hours a month in Willard Straight Hall, presumably lying on your back, listening to the Firesign Theater.
Whoever your newsman may be is an entertainer. He's an actor. The national disaster doesn't happen to him.
I'm an actor. A newsman is also an actor. A person who sells you soap in a commercial or sells you anything is an actor. It's all actors. Nothing wrong with that.
No.
But it's not real. Television isn't real.
And it's artificial. It's a god. This is a god. This is the television god. I'm speaking to you through the television god. What I say through the television god, if I'm a newsman, takes on an importance that perhaps is not justifiable.
So when the newsman comes on, he's got to make himself as interesting as possible so that you won't switch and watch Fay Ray, right? And Hercules' Strong Arms. The way he does that is to dramatize whatever he says. And the drama...
One of the ways of doing that is talking in these ways. Now, these men don't really talk like that.
They don't. They are orating, much like it's in a grand old American tradition of the 4th of July orator.
It is.
The put-on was the late 60s distinctive mode of performative satirical critique. In August 1968, just before the Firesign Theater began recording Nixon's humorous selection, media-savvy activists and the Yippies nominated a pig for president at the Chicago Democratic National Convention. Actually, they nominated 2 pigs. A few days later, feminists greeted the Miss America pageant in Atlantic City by crowning a sheep on the boardwalk. A year before that, Abby Hoffman had promised to culminate a massive anti-war demonstration in DC by levitating the Pentagon. In late 1966, the Firesign Theater's first appearance had itself taken the form of a put-on. They pretended to be filmmakers implausibly screening their work on the radio, and then staged the film censorship in real time. To their surprise, the fake suppression elicited dozens of outraged phone calls to KPFK, an experienced Firesign's David Osman would remember as showing them the power of the medium, just as the War of the Worlds had done for Orson Welles.
And the news now, you see, is good news. No matter what you see on it, it is good news. And if our news is good, then it's funny news. And that's one other aspect, I think, of what the Firesign Theater is good-timey humorists.
Yeah, right, indeed.
Good old-timey humor.
Yes.
The Princeton Radio Research Project, Hadley Cantrill, secured government funding to study how public belief in the Martian invasion might help evaluate American citizens' susceptibility to Nazi propaganda. The instability of the put-on, the reversibility of its humor, is a hazard inherent to the form. Think of stories from like this one from The Onion that circulated globally as actual news more than a decade before the Orwellian weaponization of the phrase fake news, with which we are so familiar today. This was a situation that the Firesign Theater anticipated. A principal theme of the album they had sent to Nixon was this very idea, that the put-on was propaganda in a different context.
So I hope you like that, and I hope it helped you understand a little bit more about them. All right, and I've been reading and watching videos for 2 days, even though yesterday I did a show at 5 o'clock, but then I was thinking about them, you saw that they really understood fake news, or they understood that the news persons were actors. They really did. And they got it. So I just wondered, I wonder what they would think about Donald Trump. Really. I guess they would probably think of him. I don't know. I was on two of them have passed away. I was on one of the guys. I was on his Twitter, but he's off Twitter now, but he's still alive, and he was very critical of Donald Trump. And my thoughts, and I think that they would have looked at him like the salesman, like Donald Trump, the salesman, the guy that believes his own bullshit, he believes his own pitch, and they, from everything I read, they mocked people like that. They mocked the confidence men, the hype merchants, and these ridiculous people. Well, I guess you could call it institutional liars. That's what I read in one piece. I'll try to put my show notes in. There wasn't a lot of people that wrote about them, but just listening it back again, it made me feel that way, that they would have looked, they might not have seen Donald Trump as a disrupting force, but maybe more of the pitch man. And that's what we see. We see he's awful, but then we see who's behind him, and don't worry, I'm going to get to the Cassandra part, because it does really feed in, I think. And they, as these people, and a lot of 70s, like Abby Hoffman, Jerry Rubin, I love them. I loved them. And I was very, very young, but I discovered them and I read their books, and man, I wanted to be a hippie, I guess. I ended up a biker, but whatever. A hippie in the beginning. A lot of us went through probably similar that I did. But I also think that this authoritarian language that we're hearing, especially from someone like Stephen Miller, well, let me see. I have a couple of comments I'm going to put on the side for later. I see you, but I can't do it all. I run it all myself. So I want to try to get my thoughts out so I can, go on. But they understood the absurd. They really did. They absurd, and they understood the power of the performance. And that's what, from what I see and what I heard and relived, and believe me, I am not a little bit of, in this. You guys have to listen. You have to go back in time. We have a lot of things happening in life now. We have a lot of things happening in the country. Everything pretty well sucks. We're on the way to extincting everything on the planet. Just listen to Lyle Lewis. But if you go back, history is very interesting and it's really important. And these guys, I really think, were a big part of it. They really did. They probably thought, these things, like a Trump rally, for example, it's kind of like ritualized. Maybe they would have said, oh, Trump is just ritualized bullshit, nonsense, garbage. But the absurdity, and I always come back to that word, absurd. And they, as you saw in that video, they talked about the media and really how the newsman was an actor. So they said the media, and they said it back then, that the media stopped reflecting reality and they started manufacturing it. It's like they saw Fox News, Newsmax, OAN, MSNBC, all of them. They saw what was going on, or they saw a future, but they couldn't tell the future. They just understood the absurdity of the time. They really did. And they also, I'm not going to bring up these articles or anything, but there was another one, and the guy that wrote the book also, he, they talked about the ego. And their work kind of said, okay, the ego when that ego replaces institutions, and how could they not know? I mean, how could they know? How could they know? I mean, Richard Nixon was bad enough and had an ego, but when that ego and when that narcissistic idiot type person, it gets in, democracy erodes. It's like a big farce, and they treated it all like a big farce because that's what we're seeing. And we see that, and I talked about this yesterday. We see the loyalty tests that the orange turd, everybody has to pretty much pledge, like in the mafia, and these politics of grievance. And I know I talked about a lot of it. Well, it's not strong, you know? It's like, it's not strong. And as we see in Orange Turd, he just wants the applause. Look he just took the prize. What a joke, the Nobel Prize. I mean, everybody's laughing at the United States, at the absurdity of it. But, you know, the joke is not funny. It's really not funny. Because the absurdity of Donald Trump it's an operation. It's happening. It's an operation. And all this, I don't know, mockable nonsense is crap. It's writing the policies. And they did have some dark humor about them. They did. I heard it today. Anyway, I don't know if they would be, amused. I couldn't, I didn't have enough time to contact the remaining, members, but it would have been interesting. So then it took me to Cassandra, and I do have an article about it. But first, I will show you a couple of things. I have a couple of graphics I did make. Let me move over to my other screen, and I'll put up this one. We are all bozos on this bus, and what I thought was, it means danger. It's not a single villain or just a few bad people, bad actors. I know there's someone in the climate community that always uses that word, bad actors. But that's how I could put it. It's collective. It's participation in historical systems that reward passivity. And you're seeing this now. But we've seen this historically. Rewards passivity and I misspelled punish. Punishes dissent, which is happening. Any dissent is being punished. Look at what's happening in Minnesota. Look at what ICE is doing to the protesters. They killed Renee. And they're getting worse. And, in that piece that I asked you to watch, to listen to, because it's not a video, I asked you to listen to, the laughter actually, in my opinion, becomes nervous. So you listen to that. I listened to it 4 times today. And, your laughter almost becomes nervous because it's accurate. What they're talking about is accurate. And the line, we are all bozos on this bus, indoors. This bus that we're all on, it's never stopped. We're on it now. But now we climate people that talk about climate and overshoot and extinction and, all the things that we talk about, we're on that Cassandra bus. That's how I feel. We are on the Cassandra bus. And I found this, actually. This I found. Now, there's a million slogans that come from the Firesign Theater, really a lot of them. And one of them that is another one. Now, of course, we are all bozos on the bus. That's been with me my whole life because actually, Bozo's on this bus. I felt like that so many times. Oh, years. Everywhere or situations I felt like, we're just fucking bozos on this bus. But then the everything you know is wrong is another famous one. And I actually took this from something I found and made it into a graphic. And so, oligarchy, everything you know is wrong. Oligarchy inverts everything systematically. The official story versus the operational reality. Institutions fail at stated missions while succeeding at oligarchy maintenance. Abundance versus scarcity, artificial limitations on natural plenty, on natural plenty. So scarcity, which is something we're seeing. Health versus sickness, profitable chronic conditions versus, natural wellness. That's debatable, but the health system is so screwed up. It's for profit. Democracy versus oligarchy, which is choice theater masking concentrated control. Now, again, I didn't write this part and I didn't come up with this, but I thought it was great. Progress versus regression. Technological advancement serving control rather than liberation. So think about that when again I'll read it. Progress versus regression. Technological advances serving control rather than liberation. Where are we with AI? With everything that's happening, with everything we've been going through, and how we have, us of certain ages, have lived through this technological revolution, they call it. But is it liberating us, or are we, I don't like to use the slave word, but we are slaves to it. And the geometric framework reveals systematic inversion. So what you're taught serves the oligarchy preservation and not truth recognition. And that's where we are. Everything you know is wrong. And those of us with critical thinking skills obviously understand that. We get that. We get that. And it works. It works. And so think about being a Cassandra. A lot of us have been screaming forever. And we are climate Cassandras or whatever you want to call us. But it's not that being a Cassandra is that there's not enough facts. It's people just, they don't want to hear them, or the people are threatened by them. And kind of like everything you know is wrong, and being a Cassandra, I don't know, it works in a way. So there's a psychology to it, I suppose. You can't tell people they're wrong, first of all. If you tell them they're wrong, they're going to work to protect that ego. They're going to work to protect the ego and their own, I don't know, tribe, so to speak. I know I'm using these words that probably people think are politically incorrect, but it's how I know what I know. Yes, of course. That's right. We know that. Her curse wasn't that she could hear the future. It was that no one no one she told would believe her. Obviously, that's what we are. We are all Cassandras on this bus now. And she is dismissed as an alarmist. At least now. It's like, okay, so people can hold uncertainty, just not long though. Not very long. And when you talk to people about these uncomfortable realities, what happens? You get a channel like mine that never grows in the algorithms because people can't handle it. And I absolutely know that, because, I think maybe all of my followers here are coffee house Cassandras. And that it was a Greek myth. She was cursed. She was cursed to tell the truth and not believed. And who was doing that? Doomers, environmental scientists, climate journalists like David Wallace Wells, we're going to talk about later, and activists too. Look what happened to Roger Hallam. He went to jail for it in the UK. There's so many. I think of Peter Kalmus. He's definitely a Cassandra. Definitely. And he's frustrated. He's out there. He was frustrated. And the warnings, they are proving to be correct. They all are. But then comes the denial. I've talked about that before. And, well, in a way, when you're a Cassandra and you know the science, people are kind of looking at you like, well, it's a class base or snobby. You're a snob because you know all this, and you're like they're painting you as a Cassandra as kind of privileged. That's how I feel in a way sometimes because of my studying, because I know these things. It's, I don't know, so many people have a hard time with it. They don't want to have these inconvenient truths, so to speak, that word. And it challenges. Every time we talk about any of the issues we talk about, it challenges, right? The fossil capital, the fossil fuel industries, it challenges extraction economies and all of these political systems that are built on what? Growth. And it's all short-term growth because goddamn, we don't even know. And I talked about it yesterday with growth. You can't have unlimited growth on a finite planet. So if somebody calls me a Cassandra, they say, well, they're always predicting doom. Instead of asking, well, why is what I'm saying or Elliot's saying or Lyle is saying or Sam is saying or any number of people, even in the Climate Crisis Club, what Robert is saying, why are they coming true? And again, with absurdity, I think about how it's weaponized. We're so absurd. It's like, that's not even serious. Our media environment, we watch it, we see it, we're feeling it, we're going through it every day, is weaponized against being serious. It's and ask anybody that watches Fox or the New York Post online. The New York Post is the most unserious bullshit slinging paper out there. The New York Post, it is awful. And they are definitely absurd. And they love the outrage. We've been going through the outrage machine, and that's what they did it, by design, outrage every day. Every day. And, it's almost like the spectacle and all this bad faith crap. It's juxtaposition that against how you listen to Lyle Lewis speak or Elliot, the calmness and even me, although I'm louder and a little bit more gregarious than others. But any kind of analysis that we do compared to them, they just sound shrill and awful. Here I try. I don't know if I do, but I try to be calm. Not easy. I mean, I've done many live streams where I've not been calm, and I do rigorously defend my position and all the shows over the last 9 years with the data and how it's led up to where we are. I don't know. I don't want to be seen, and we do not want to be seen as tedious or repetitious. We don't want to be, or even joyless. That's why, again, I've said on this show that in the old days, when Jennifer and I would laugh at something and people would be like, how can you laugh? How can you absolutely laugh? I'm unsubscribing because you are laughing at the most serious thing in the world. And fuck you then. Leave. Go. We don't need you. We don't need you. Now, think about this too with people, when we, as Cassandra on this bus, there's a psychology to disbelieving in a way. Now, I have an undergrad degree in it. I mean, this is a long time ago. I have a master's degree, and I studied a lot of things in behavior and even in human resources. You're using behavior, and well, if you accept the warnings that all of our channels and all of the articles give, and even the End of Ice and all the books, it means that you've gotta, these people, your audience or the people that you're trying to educate, they've got to accept responsibility for what's happening. And that requires change. People don't want to change. They don't want to change. They almost would rather just say, okay, it's flooding, it's fire, there are fires, there are droughts, tornadoes are happening wherever, they've never happened before, but we can't change. So they just dismiss the messengers because they want to stay comfortable. And that's where, I don't know if that's historical or if that's just because of the age of comfort. The age of comfort that really started in the industrial era. So we're mocked as environmental and climate and data Cassandras. And it's not because we're wrong, but it's because, well, we were early, and there's a lot of people that were talking about this way before me, way before some of you, just acting on, again, what we've talked about would require confronting these economic and political systems, which, thank you, all the progressives that are doing it and talking about it. There's a lot of people absolutely talking about it, and more seriously than I've ever heard it before. So, I guess I am a Cassandra because most of the time I do speak plainly about it. And I'm certainly not a subtle optimist. I'm not an optimist. I'm really not. I talk about ecological overshoot and climate destabilization. And then I also like to talk about the institutional denial. I like to talk about all those people that are awful. And I don't care about official consensus language. I don't care. So there's resistance. And I guess that's why the channel never grows. I don't know. Maybe it's my voice. I'm always finding reasons. Well, what the hell is it? But I put myself down, or I'll say, well, I'm too old, or it's my voice or whatever. But no, it's the topic. I connect these dots, and really the institutions that are in place now, they do not want to separate all of the truths. They want to, I guess it's compartmentalize it. Climate's in one place, and biodiversity is in one place, and economics is somewhere else, but they synthesize together. They're all together. I mean, there's so many people that can articulate this better than I am, but like Lyle, Lyle Lewis, he does such a good job doing it. But I want to synthesize it. I like to show or talk about the fossil fuel industry and how awful it is. But greenwashing a lot of the energy, and how energy is in and of itself is it's not a positive, but we need it. We use it. I use it. I never lie about that. I mean, Jesus Christ, here I am. Yesterday, the power went off again, and I have my backup battery. It's a APC UPS system that will keep the power on so I don't lose my stuff, right? But I kind of violate an acceptable concern boundary. It's you can warn, but not too urgently, or not critiquingly. And I criticize, and I've politicized it. I've crossed the boundaries. I crossed the boundaries, and so I'm punished. And it's not for my inaccuracy, because I know the science and I show the science. I've studied the science. But I refuse to moderate my conclusion for some bullshit comfort. I'm sorry, I'm not going to do it. So accept me. And neither are so many people that I know. We're not going to do that. And it's kind of cruel, for in a way. I mean, think about this. The cruel irony of being Cassandra. Floods and fires. And I talked about it a couple of weeks ago about the insurance industry and the withdrawal and food instability and all the things that are happening. Governance breakdown, fascism, authoritarianism in the United States. And, voices that said, well, no one could have seen that coming. Oh, bullshit. Everything showed. All the records, all the data, everything showed otherwise. And so we're proven right, maybe kind of retroactively, but forget it, ignored going forward. I don't know how it's going to happen. And I am not somebody that says, okay, everything's gradual. We're going to do it all gradually. Because has that worked? No. So I'm not going to lie about those things. A lot of people want to. I don't know if it's so much everybody here. I mean, and there's a cadre of you that are fun, wonderful people that look at, well, what can we do? But you're not looking at ridiculous things like, the geoengineering, the unnatural geoengineering. You're looking at things that are plant-based and growing, and, things that, I hate to use the word solution, but things that are short-term solutions, but that can change our environments, change where we live. But it's the gradualism. I don't know. It's like collapse. It's not distant, and it's not manageable, and it's not incremental. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's incremental to a degree, because, like I always say, I don't have a crystal ball, and I can't see, when all these things are going to happen. So, but I think one of the things about us in this channel, or other channels, I mean, there are other channels, Paul Beckwith, but yet even though Paul Beckwith, climate system scientist, presents all the data, he's still not getting thousands and thousands of people that should be hearing his messages and understand his stuff. Jim Massis certainly isn't. Okay, Climate Adam, some of the kitschy channels are. They are. The ones that have a little bit of the hopium at the end. I tell the truth, I have this, I guess, a timeline that the system doesn't tolerate. But history is moving in my direction. History is moving in our direction. And really it is. So then we can go back, we can go back to the Firesign Theater, who saw all of this. But I don't think they saw it in the way that could be, that they could understand exactly Fox or fake news or any of that, you know. Uh, I did have something I pulled from another piece and I copied it um, about them. And let me see if I can find it. Hang on. So, all right. So they actually, when it came to their was it weaponizing absurdity? Yeah, the weaponizing absurdity. Yeah, okay, this is something I copied. Absurdity bypasses rational debate because it's not playing by rational rules. You can't fact check a performance designed to be incoherent. Who does that seem like? Right? And so we're living in the time of completely, now this I didn't copy, but that was just a paragraph. I'm not going to read the whole paragraph, but we're living in this time of it's a fatigue. We're tired, public fatigue and cynicism and false equivalence because everyone lies. And that's how we feel. You almost feel like now anything I look at on the internet, I'm realizing I don't believe it at first. Or it's fake, or it's AI, and then I go backwards to have to fact check it myself to see if it's real. And this is a new thing that adds a lot of time to researching for these shows. It really does. But a lot of people, although we're not seeing that with the protests that are happening now, people are getting on board with the ICE protests, but there has been a withdrawal from civic engagement, at least the kind of civic engagement there was in the 60s and 70s, the time of the Firesign Theater, But I feel like absurdity it's like a tool, And these people, somebody is smarter than Trump, obviously. And I think the Firesign Theater may have used absurdity in their work that feels ridiculous, but like nobody could possibly mean this stuff, but it's happening right in front of our eyes. It is happening right in front of our eyes. Oh my God. It's just like bozos, the word bozo. They're not idiots. We're not idiots as Cassandra's or bozos. We're definitely not. We're credentialed and we're not overconfident though. I don't know if we're overconfident. I don't know. I have to look at some of your comments because I'm getting to be almost an hour. So I do want to go and share with you a couple of things. And let me make sure that it's coming up correctly. And I want to show you their Facebook page. They have a Facebook page. Now, the one on the left, and this, I don't know, can you see you can't see my, oh, you can. He's passed away and he's passed away. And then on this Facebook page, there's not a lot of members because probably everybody that loved them is dying off, Unfortunately. There was a picture here 2 hours ago this person put up. I think we're all bozos on this bus, but look at the bus they put up. And there were comments, you're either on the bus or off the bus. And there were so many Firesign Theater isms, right? Is it too much, friends? Pull the curtains, Fred. Look at this. Look at this steaming heap. Too much of Admiral Byrd's crackly brown French fried chicken fingers. Too many cuts of Mother Baker's deep dish sheep dip cherry stone pie. Too many tubs of slaw. And everything had a different meaning, Everything did with them. I think that if you want to do something different to get you out of all the bullshit today, just Start listening to the Firesign Theater. And if it's too much, listen again. Just lay down on your couch, lay down in the bed, and put yourself in a dip. Smoke a joint. Put yourself in. That's what a lot of people did when they listened to them. Put yourself in a different mindset. That's nothing but a 2-bit ring from a cracker back jocks. and kind of chump do you take me for? I mean, you have to be able to listen to it. And I couldn't play it because I knew I would get a copyright. And I don't want one. So I can't play any of it. And then this is the book. The book is by this professor I showed you in the video, and from Cornell, which is, of course, it's not that far from me. And he talks about the book, and he talks about in this interview when he first encountered them. And it was a collective, he says. For the uninitiated, how would you describe them? He would say it was collective. It is obviously produced by a group that improvised and then refined those improvisations through writing. They also understood that the point of making albums, which was that in those days, it was in your ear, you listened, was their primary medium, was to make you want to listen to them again and again. They made sure to include sounds and ideas that you wouldn't hear or understand till the 5th or 20th time you listened. The jokes themselves range from puerile, low-hanging fruit to very high-concept comedy that sometimes unfolds over the course of more than one album. And they always cited comedians from the 50s as influences. So, what made them unique was they could broadly be called comic, but their work is about much more than being funny. So I want you guys to be able to deal with this. I'm giving you something to do that will take you away from all of the garbage today. Even read Jerry Rubin. Even read Abby Hoffman steal this book. Take yourself back to the 60s. I think Grace Slick from Jefferson Airplane just turned like 82. I don't know. So what was their legacy according to him? He researched the book. Let's see. I don't know. What was their legacy? Oh, he was so astonished by how thoroughly Firesign had penetrated the culture of the early 70s. I mean, I was a child, but by how many different kinds of committed listeners they had, from poets like Ashbery and John Cole to underground culture workers like Negativland and Madlib, to people who worked in the State Department. So they really did have quite a group. And they had this you could find in Bandcamp. It was called the Nick Danger case file, and all of their recordings are here. I'll put the links in. And then Not Insane, the Firesign Theater. It's just a graphic I found. But they were incredible. And I'm going to end with reading you an article I found from 2017, which I probably read in 2017. Cassandra and the Climate Apocalypse. And then we're going to do some of your comments, like always. And I want to read this article because it kind of ends my spiel here with, I understand that it's kind of hard to read anything while a fascist takeover is happening and real Americans are being assassinated in the streets. Yeah, 24/7. But we've got to have some kind of way to get our minds, even if it's an hour. I'm reading the book, Writing to the Bones. Even if it's an hour, you have to get out of yourself because of your health and your mental health. So this When my mother named me Cassandra, she didn't know anything about Greek mythology. She had never heard of the princess who prophesied the destruction of Troy, but I inherited some of Cassandra's attributes all the same. I am a. Wait a minute. I want to close something. Sorry, I got to close something. Okay. I am a doom and gloom kind of girl. My visions of the future involve illness, poverty, and untimely deaths. Each headache surely heralds a brain tumor, and this is way before the pandemic, but Trump was the president when she wrote it. Each sidewalk stumble will no doubt beget several busted teeth. But unlike Cassandra of Troy, I'm a terrible soothsayer. My visions are mostly wrong. This fact allows me to revel in the worst case scenarios without entirely believing they'll come true. I get to spout death and destruction, yet I still manage to get up each morning and face the day. I know the worst probably won't come to pass. But remember, she wrote this in 2017. But what if it does? For years, I've been telling myself that my terror over climate change is unwarranted. Sure, a lot of bad things could happen, but they probably won't. With each passing year, however, the news gets worse. Corals are dying, seas are rising, and enormous ice shelves are calving. The facts are irrefutable, and the voice inside my head, though that welcomed counterweight to my outward pessimism, has fallen silent. I imagine the worst, but this time I can't convince myself that I'm wrong. I'm not the only one predicting doom. This week, New York Magazine ran a cover story called The Uninhabitable Earth. Remember that? We covered it. In a terrifying 7,300-word feature, David Wallace Wells argues that the impacts of climate change will be far worse and happen far sooner than most of us realize. Quote, absent a significant adjustment to how billions of humans conduct their lives, part of the earth will likely become close to uninhabitable and other parts horrifyingly inhospitable as soon as the end of the century, he writes. No matter how well informed you are surely not alarmed enough. And that was in 2017, Wells said that. His apocalyptic vision dominated my Facebook feed, but for days I couldn't bring myself to read the story. I wonder if she followed Environmental Coffee House or maybe Nature Basilas. Yesterday, however, I dove in because, as Wallace Wells points out, aversion arising from fear is a form of denial too. This is not an enjoyable read. It's hard to imagine Wallace Wells could have painted a bleaker picture. I may not have a gloomy outlook on life, but when it comes to climate catastrophe, I haven't imagined the worst. Not even close. At least not with the vivid detail that Wallace Wells has. By the end of section 2, heat death, my throat was tight and my heart was hammering. I couldn't hear it over the whine of the air conditioner, but I could feel it thumping against my rib cage. By section 4, climate plagues. Remember when this was written. Dying in a flu pandemic seemed like the best possible outcome, and that was where I stopped. I couldn't do much more than skim the other 5 sections, everything from toxic oceans to economic collapse, without risking my mental health. I'm a doom and gloom kind of girl, but apparently even I have limits. Wallace Wells isn't a fortune teller. He points out that these are unlikely scenarios. Well, we've seen different, haven't we? Still, some critics worry that such pessimistic articles will fuel an epidemic of eco-anxiety, which we've discussed, which is why Russell Vogt wants to defund NCAR because of climate alarmism. If you're trying to motivate people, scaring the shit out of them is a really bad strategy, writes Eric Holthaus. Presented with the idea that the planet gives us life, might be dying, parts of our brains shut down. We're unable to think logically. Part of that is true. Holthouse is right, of course. I'm a perfect example of someone who has been crippled by climate panic, but other strategies don't seem to be inspiring much action either. According to a 2009 survey by Pew Research Center, only 49% of Americans believe that human activity is the primary cause of climate change. Today, that number's 48. What will it take to move the needle? Well, the needle really has changed. 2009, Paul Krugman wrote, quote, that climate scientists have, en masse, become Cassandras, gifted with the ability to prophesy future disasters, but cursed with the inability to get anyone to believe them. Well, that's still true today, but these prophecies aren't the rantings of wild-eyed fortune tellers. They're based on decades of meticulous data collection. We can't afford to bury our heads in the pillows any longer. We're already at risk of some of Wallace Wells' predictions coming true. Right? Right. Which they are. Which they are. And I read that because I thought, I did think it was a decent read. Even, to look at, the age of the article and where we are now and how much things have changed and gotten worse. And, here I am being that climate Cassandra, that negativity, that doomer. Since 2017, the word doomer has become much more popular, so to speak. Okay, Keith. Calling Trump a salesman sort of lets all of us off the hook. What he is has been known since 73. I knew what he was because I lived in New York and he ripped off a friend of mine who had a stone business. Yep, literally did not pay for the stone. Oh my God, the experience is just awful. And I think I read this. What I'm hearing so far is America has always been one long damn show of pretend and pretentious bullshit. And Chaz, oh, thank you. Is this the 51st state of a NATO country? Canada. No. And you know goddamn well that's not. No. Hi, Nephrist. Okay, here we go. I saw Linda. We need to stop sacrificing truth for the sake of sounding nice. Yeah, well, I've been doing it. Can't even get 5,000 subscribers. I'm bitching again. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Hi, John. Hi, John. What happens to a doomer if they become a shroomer? Mushrooms can help eat plastics, etc., and be a healthy food source. Yeah, see, John, you have a lot of those things I love. Those permaculture ideas, those things that put into practice are lovely and positive. Positive. A fire broke out backstage at a theater. The clown came out to warn the public. They thought it was a joke and applauded. He repeated it. The acclaim was even greater. Oh my God. I think that's just how the world will come to an end. To general applause from wits who believe it's a joke. Soren Kierkegaard. Maybe, Brett. Maybe. Maybe. Okay. Now, you saw that. They'll blow up the world before they release the files, exposing Jeffrey Trent. I had that in a meme. I have it. I could show it, but you said it. Yeah, you must have seen that meme, right? And Oliver, yeah, he didn't pay for the stone from my friend. It was my friend's boyfriend who had a stone business It was up in Sloatsburg, New York, actually. Back in the day, it was up on Route 17, and you could go down. It was for Atlantic City, I believe, and you could go down the Palisades Parkway, but as a commercial vehicle, you couldn't. So he had to actually take a different route to get his stuff. But yeah, he didn't, and that's a long time ago. Why? We all knew. I don't know why I have hair in my mouth tonight. Here, hang on. I can't stand it. Ugh. Probably lipstick. The hair sticking in my mouth is driving me crazy. Okay. Hi, sweetheart. I hope you're feeling okay. They will pull back the curtains. They will move the tables and chairs out of the way, and you'll see the brick wall at the back of the theater. Frank Zappa, who I love too. Saw him too. Saw him, and I was so mad when I saw him at the Felt Forum. Bela, you know where that was. It was a Halloween show. I was very young, and he was doing the Enema Bandit song, and I was sitting, and he asked for somebody to come up to the stage, and I was like, oh, pick me, and then this goddamn bitch Fran, he picked Fran, and she got to go up on stage. Probably because Fran was older. I mean, I looked too young. I was probably too young to go on there and have him she was laying down on the stage and he was doing the Enema Bandit song. God damn, I wanted to be up there. Oh my God. Shroom party Sunday morning? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Okay. I had the unfortunate of being exposed to Trump in a real estate magazine when he was going to save the world with peace, love, and real estate. I found that to be highly offensive. Okay, we got to do a flush. What are we going to flush? I mean, there's so many. Everybody picks this. Remember when Elon was doing Doge? We were flushing like Elon every freaking week. Okay, who are we flushing? Environmental Coffee House. Flush of the day. Who are we flushing? Come on, guys. Oops, I didn't mean that. Okay, I'm waiting. You want to flush Trump Tower? Okay, we're going to flush Christy Botox Gnome. Oh my God, I'm doing great, aren't I? Yay! Bye-bye, Christy! Bye-bye, Christy! Okay, she was a great choice. We don't like... Hey, Jake! Jakey! Hey, Jakey! I love doing the show with Jake Left Past 10 the other night. I had such a good time. I really did. I enjoyed Wednesday night. I sure did. Matt Hunter! Oh my God! Matt! I have been talking about you, Matt. A super chat. And I want to tell Matt, keep smiling, Sandy, and don't go changing. Flush the don't look up peeps. Yeah, okay, we'll flush one more time. All those idiots. Hey, Matt, Matt invited me to come visit in New Zealand. And back when he invited me, it was always like, oh, I can't, or I can't afford it, or what am I going to do with my cats, and, get a visa and all that. Boy, now I really wish I did. I never saw how awful I didn't see it. I was in denial. And Matt, goddamn, I should have just come to New Zealand. God, yeah, she is Botox Barbie. They all are. I have my top list. I made a new one. I don't know where it is. Do I have it? Is this it? Oh, where is it? I don't know. I'm always making these things. God damn it. I don't know where it is. I made a new meme, but I don't think it's... Oh, wait, it might be in here. Hang on. Let me see if I've got it. I can pull it up. I'm pretty sure I put it on... Okay. Civil disobedience is not our problem. Our problem is civil obedience. Howard Zinn. Every single one of them should be charged with treason. All they do is lie. I do like making these things. And they're more artistic than some of their memes. But man, there's people out there that are just phenomenal at all that stuff. Just phenomenal. Yeah. All right. Well, we have been an hour and 12 minutes. So, I hope you got something out of the show. I understand it's not for everyone to just rush out and listen to hours of the Firesign Theater from 1967 to 1975, especially the younger people. But you just may get something out of it. Divert your attention for just a little while from all of this horrible stuff going on, And I understand. I do. But we've really, really got to give ourselves a few minutes. I want to do some, what is it, Tai Chi? I want to do something. But first of all, I have to leave the house. I don't. I go on the property. I went to my trail cam. I posted a graphic. The house is on fire. Oh, shit. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? The house is... Oh, shit. Did I lose? Oh, the house is on fire, and now is not the time to worry about a leaky faucet. The immediate concern is the fire. Hell yeah. I hear you. Hi, Kate. Oh, gosh. I'm going to rush out and listen to Firesign Theater on Bandcamp. Well, listen, it might help you. They were brilliant. I just wanted to bring something different like I always try to do. Okay, so we are going to be here on Sunday morning for Pajama Sunday. It'll be me and Antonio, and we definitely are dealing with, I didn't want to do it without Antonio. I want to talk about Patagonia, and I want to talk about the theories that are going around about Patagonia, and I want to talk about the climate of Patagonia, and maybe some of the politics of Argentina, which are, of the absurd. I mean, we're seeing the absurd in so many places. We really are. And tomorrow's the Climate Crisis Club. I know X is, we all hate it. But if you go on it just in your lane and just for the space, you can talk, you can hear, you can learn. Oliver's there. Oliver's here. There's loads of Firesign Theater vids. Enjoy something of the Goon show. Yeah. So just enjoy. And yes, goddamn, Goddess bless. Yes, love and peace. That's beautiful. Thank you. Oh, really? You used to have them on the 33 RPM and on my underground radio station, WZMF in Milwaukee? That's great. I think actually, do I have a applause for that? Yeah, okay. Yay! All right, that's good. Okay, I like that. That's good. That's good. All right. Well, listen, I'm going to start the ending music, and like always, love you all. I'm trying to be reliable on my schedule here. I've put out some shorts. I'm doing some shorts. I'm not always reliable. You know that. But so far, I did it this week. Sunday, and then we shall see. Tuesdays, I really am working on trying to just put out videos and not a live show. I'm tired at night. I'm like a baby. I want to get some sleep. Yeah, love you too. All right, so we get the beautiful video I took in Florida when I visited Sam in Dunellen at Doomsday Trailer, and we go out with me saying thank you and how much I love you all. Okay. See you Sunday morning. And hopefully we see or hear you at the Climate Crisis Club tomorrow. Woohoo!